about practice?
Sure. Before I talk about practice, obviously, I want to address the incident with Quan Bray that I know that you've all heard about. And you know, the reality is that Quan is for the last year and a half has really had had a lot of challenges, and he's been a great teammate. He's been an honor roll student, and you know, I'm proud of the way in the last year and a half that he's carried himself and the way he's overcome a lot of adversity. Unfortunately, he made a bad decision this weekend, and what comes with that is consequences. So he won't be playing in the game this week. I'll let you know when he's going to be back out on the field, but it certainly won't be against Arkansas. We had a great practice tonight. Really, again, I feel really good about the last 4 practices in a row, this being the 4th, in terms of intensity, and just I feel like we're improving. And I feel like the culture of our practices and the way we're practicing in terms of physicality and intensity, I feel good about it. You know, I feel like it's a move in the right direction. And tonight they came back, and after a little bit of a break, and I feel like it was a very spirited practice again. So that was very pleasing to see.
Question?
Does Trevon Reed become the #1 punt returner for this Saturday?
Well, we're going to look at it. We'll look at a couple options with Trevon or Ricardo Lewis and a couple of others, but he's the one that's he's caught punts in a game before, so he's going to be obviously the first guy that we look at as an option.
What about out of the slot? I know Quan's done a lot of work out of there. Who's the leading candidates that are going to take over?
No, it'll be the same. Trevon's done that a good bit, and we'll look and see what other guys can can step up. I'm sure another receiver will step up and be able to do the same job. But again, Trevon would probably be the lead-in guy on that as well.
What was Quan's reaction to you telling him what the repercussions were of all this?
I'm not going to go into the detail of all that. He understands that consequences happen when you make bad decisions, and he understands that.
Every program obviously has off-the-field issues, but with them kind of piling up here, what frustration do you have?
Well, part of our job as coaches is to help young guys grow up. That's part of my job, and again, in a perfect world, you don't want any of these things to happen, but my job, as well as winning football games, is to help young guys come in here as boys at 18 and grow into men when they leave at 22. And so that's what our goal is with any guys that make a decision that is not what you want. Again, a high percentage of our guys on our football team do exactly what we ask them to do. But again, in a perfect world, you'd like to say that that's never going to happen. But our job is to help them grow when they make bad decisions.
Do you take similar considerations into account as you did before the season with Reese in a situation like this?
Every situation is different, and again, I'm not going to go into the details of all of it, but as I said earlier, he's not going to play this week, and then when he becomes able to participate, I'll let you guys know.
How much of a benefit is extra time for Kyle? Maybe he's had some chance to study, a little extra time to study what didn't go well and what did go well first few games.
Well, I feel like any time you get is certainly beneficial. I think he spent a lot of time up here on his own. He spent a lot of time looking at 1 month's worth of cut-ups and game film, and looking at his decision making and looking at his technique. And I think any time you can have the opportunity to do that without a game right in front of you, where you can really reassess and reevaluate everything you do, I think it's invaluable. So I think last week was a really good week for him to be able to improve.
Have you, being an old defensive coach, have you looked around the SEC lately and seen some of these scores, 51-44, 52-0, 52-7? you know, stuff like that. Is that kind of crazy to see defenses in the SEC giving up? Not just Arkansas, I'm talking there's
Right.
been several.
Right. You know, it's probably not been the norm, you know, recently with really good defenses in the league. Offenses put a lot of strain on defenses these days, and there's so many different types of offenses, you know, in the league now. And so there's some really talented offensive players. There's some really talented quarterbacks. And I think that, you know, this year there's some very, very talented quarterbacks, you know, in this league. And most offenses are very quarterback driven, you know, as we know. So I think it kind of goes back and forth, you know. Next year it could be, you know, you know, you don't see as much of it, but you know, some of the scores have probably been a little bit different for everybody to look at.
Cobi Hamilton, what he's done, how you approach him defensively? Do you figure to have, you know, give Davis or Mincy a shot on him one-on-one, zone defense? How do you approach a guy like that?
Well, we'll look at that. You know, we'll look at both zone ideas and man ideas, and you know, we'll come up with what we think is the best plan. But he's certainly a very good player. Obviously, his numbers speak for themselves, and he's a tough target. I remember when he was coming out of high school, and he's very, very productive. So we'll we'll evaluate and really look at what is the best thing, both in zone coverages and man coverages, because we'll play both. But he's definitely a guy that you got to be aware of where he's at all times.
Is that a good challenge for your corners? Are they looking forward to it?
I think so. I don't think there's any question. I think they'll really, you know, we understand that this is a great quarterback, and Cobi's a great receiver, and they've got some other really good receivers too. And let's not forget about the tailback. You know, that's really, you know, he's an NFL prospect tailback. So they've got some guys on offense that can, you know, that can really be productive, and we'll just have to look and see, you know, what's the best plan, and you know, stopping some of these individual guys.
When you have a guy get in trouble, I know it's an individual situation. When you have one and then two, do you tell them, like, the third one, I'm going to be more angry? I mean, do you get progressively more upset if they get in trouble more often? Like if another guy gets in trouble?
I mean, again, you know, in a perfect world, we don't want any of these things to happen. But, you know, every case is individual, and every case is different. And, you know, again, our goal is to help these guys grow up and to, again, make them understand that with bad choices comes consequences. And, you know, that's the way we, you know, proceed with all of these.